All right. Steady rotation. We back in here for another episode. How we doing, Queso?
Hey man, we're living. I'm chilling. Back in the East Coast, currently in DC, doing some anime weeb trash things. Living life. How about yourself, my man?
I'm chilling over here, back home in Connecticut. Did you see Wale out there at all?
No, I have not. Unfortunately, I have not. I think he's still running away from Meek Mill, but that's a different story.
I think we're just gonna take a little moment here to kind of shout out our viewers. We're just starting this out, so I think the kind of reception that we're getting, and we're kind of walling out a little bit over. And they're not huge numbers, but the fact that we got people listening to us and engaging with us on the socials, it's really awesome. So just want to shout out to our audience, our future audience members that will continue to check in with us.
Hey man, shout out to y'all, man. Y'all keeping it steady right now, keeping us steady in your rotation. We appreciate that.
Very true. But yeah, so we're a couple days removed from the second Donda live stream event. Unfortunately, my partner here could not view the live stream event due to working a very hard day. I can sympathize with that. Mans was out here, getting his paper, getting his hours in at the convention. So I understood. So I checked into the live stream. Typical Kanye fashion, took like an hour to start. After it said it was ready to go, so the camera was basically on like the candle and the bed in the middle of the stadium. But yeah, first song kicked in.
Hold up. Before the first song, talk about that. Down the intro speech though.
Yeah, I was just gonna hit that.
Oh, my bad.
It's all right. I think it sets the tone, and this is what I was thinking as I was re-listening to the stream today. I think when Kanye has a loose concept, I think just kind of putting it in the title with albums like, the first three albums, how they all connected to each other, late registration, graduation, college dropout. You can kind of understand like that they're loose concepts, but there's still like an overall theme in all the songs, and it all ties in very well. 808s and Heartbreak, it's in the title. This is an album about heartbreak and all the kind of emotions that are tied into that. Yeezus, another kind of self-explanatory. He's comparing himself to God. Life of Pablo, I think, is a little bit where we start to kind of see like I think the Life of Pablo is actually like Life of Kanye, and that whole album, even though it's like just a chaotic mess and it's all over the place, that's the Life of Pablo. And then you go to Ye, which is his struggles, or when he put that album out. I think even with the album cover, you've got like the bipolar, living with bipolar is awesome and I hate it, I want to kill myself, etc., etc. And then Jesus is King was, I think, honestly, his first album that there was a concept, and I think it almost like boxed him in, and I think it kind of I think it kind of hurt him, because I think Jesus is King, wherever you want to put it, it is, I think, at the lower end of his discography. So when you have something like Donda and you introduce that first track with his mom's vocals, and it's almost like your mom is talking to you, and you're kind of like sitting there and you're like, oh shit, I'm like getting like lectured right now by Donda, but it almost sounds like your own mom. And it kind of sets the tone for the album as it plays out. From what we heard, we might not get the same track list when the finished product comes out, whenever that is. But yeah, I think initially just having her vocals come through really, really, really kind of sets the tone. I mean, that's how I interpreted it.
See, man. First and foremost, for the viewers, I did not see the visuals, so I had to catch the streams via other means. So I can only speak on the music. When I heard, the speech, it felt very chilling. Hearing some of the bravado in her voice definitely like told me I can see why Ye is the way that Ye is. And then sort of hearing him kind of like, chant or like moan forever in like the background as like, the mother speech is going on, definitely like gave me some chilling vibes, right? So the mood is set right. I'm feeling engaged. It's definitely very captivating. And then you just hear him and Pusha T trading bars with each other.
Yep.
And hey man, like we gotta have to like, that was nice.
Yeah.
That was a very enjoyable back and forth.
It almost makes me want like a Kids He Ghost version of, but with Kanye and Pusha, based on like that back and forth, because there were some moments like that on Kids He Goes. But yeah, I think having Pusha on that first track coming in, and they kind of trading verses, it was like undeniably like this is like oh shit, here we go, strap yourself in, this is gonna be Donda. We don't know where it's gonna go. I mean, we kind of do because it was the second live stream event, but it was a little bit different. And then
crisper. Yeah, man. Like I still remember the line that Push said, where he said, what if Plan A worked out? You would never have kids. Like when he said that to Ye, and I'm like, damn, Push. Like we're going there with the lyrics. Like that already expressed the raw nature, the raw emotions that this album was going to explore. Mm-hmm. And definitely going back from some of Kanye's previous work, I think the rawness of his emotional expression, again, within just that first track, definitely set the tone for me. Mm-hmm. And then, we go to the next track. What's it called? Like, Moon. Like Going to the Moon, I think.
I mean, I don't even think these track names are like set in stone. So I'm just gonna call it Moon. But this song for me is gonna be one of those standalone songs, in my opinion, in Kanye's like entire like anything that he's ever done. This is gonna be up there. Like it just, and as I was listening to it today, like it kind of like hit me, emotionally, because I think, we've all lost loved ones, whether to death or, they moved away or separated or whatever it is. But, I almost got the visual from the live stream event that, trying to get to the moon to get closer to maybe like heaven or to like getting to Donda, or like, and then like it goes into the lyric of like, don't go too soon. I'm willing to go to the moon just to even get a little bit closer to you, so I can still be with you. And then Kid Cudi comes in now, and he comes in with his vocals, and it all kind of ties in. But Don Toliver, man, I think his vocals come in so clean, and I didn't even know he could really like sing like that. And then when all three of them like kind of end the song and they're all like layered on top of each other, it's just so clean.
So I mean, to me, the song was more of a vibe. I didn't really pay attention to the lyrics, but it did sound really nice. What was added in this version of the stream was Cudi's verse. Mm-hmm. Man, was heavenly and floating on the track, and that was just a feel good song to me.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And then we have the Baby Keem, Travis Scott track next.
Yeah. I think at this point in the stream, I think that I don't really recall, and it's really hard to find like actual recording of the live stream online. I think just the audio's easier to come by. But when he had like about like 100 or 200 people up there or down there on the stadium with him. I think they came in on that song. I could be completely wrong. They might have been there from the get-go. But yeah, whether it's keys or organs or like just the ambiance of this song, like fits Travis Scott so perfectly. It almost sounds like a Travis song featuring Baby Keem and Kanye, but I'm glad Baby Keem as well. I don't know. How do you think he sounded this time on this track?
So again, I didn't see any visual, so shout out to Kanye for the visual work. But initially, I definitely noticed a change in the beat work. Actually, the organ use in the main beat gave this beat a more church feel. Therefore, I found it interesting to think that maybe when he was performing the song, there are like a lot of people, performing with him. I didn't really hear too much of a change in like the record. I guess the verses of Travis and Keem. But I will say that Kanye's vocals this time around it sounded a lot more raw, which I personally appreciated. Travis did this thing on it. Keem's verse, I'm not gonna lie, the first time I heard it got annoying to me. After the third time I heard it, I low-key was like saying every word with him. So like, that's a good tune, bro. And again, the use of Donda in the sample when she says "into the night," bro, next level. That's next level. Like, I want more of that. I want producers to start like really adding. Like, I want producers to start using their samples in such a significant and meaningful manner if possible.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this track gets a check mark for me. I think Baby Keem, he actually comes through in the cut with his verse. Travis floats in and out, and then Kanye kind of tops it off. And then
Kanye top off now?
And then it starts like, it goes into the next song, and we're still in this like dark ambiance, but it's still like, to me, like this is kind of a continuation of Jesus is King, but without the added label of like this is gonna be a Christian rap album. I think it's removed that, and like I think we'll talk about it at the end of like our discussion of this, about how we feel about the project so far, but it kind of removes the barriers and maybe like allows the creative process to flow a little bit more in the direction that Kanye wants to this time around, because I think introducing I think the track is called "I'm Not Okay," and like I don't think I've really heard Lil Yachty like this. It almost took me a few seconds to recognize that it was him, because he wasn't sounding like how he usually raps or sounds. He's kind of toned down.
Lil Bo.
Yeah. No, there's no Lil Bo vibes on this. This is like Sir Yachty or something.
Sir Boat.
Yeah, Sir Boat.
Hey man, like, all right, so we're gonna call the track "I'm Not Okay." I like the beat. It sounded disconnected, but in a really interesting way. Something you could maybe like, something that could come out of like maybe 808s mixed with Pablo in my book. Kanye was flowing on that track, to be honest with you, man. Like,
yeah,
I like the little EQing that he did on the voice. It sounded kind of soft, but it like had a nice little contrast, a nice little. It paired really well with the beat. Sir Boat came onto the beat. I liked Sir Boat's hums. He definitely took some cues from Sir Cudi. His verse was completely adequate. I wasn't really moved by it, but I do think that Lil Boat's performance was, meaningful on the track. And, when Kanye says, "I'm not okay," I'm like, oof.
Yeah.
Oof, that was catchy. That was definitely catchy.
And I think Ruga was also on this. But yeah, it was interesting to hear these two tracks back to back. And who knows if it'll appear this way on the track list, but
doubt it.
Yeah, this is basically like just, I guess, the topic is still like, maybe a relationship to God and stuff, but very dark. I don't want to say very, very dark, but like the undertones here, it's like almost a little bit ominous, and I kind of like that. And then it kind of goes into the next song, where we heard the first appearance from Playboi Carti with Junya Watanabe on my wrist.
Oh, I thought he says younger. Oops. Oh wow! I only heard the word Watanabe. Oh well. Hey man, all I gotta say is that song is just like, it's like honestly like catchy mid. It's not that good of a song, to be honest with you. Like, I can be very blunt with you, but something about when he just be doing the like, ooh, it just hits you, man. Like that hook is dope. I think that Cardi's performance definitely added to the track, but I will say that I felt like he low-key phoned in his verse on that song. I wanted Cardi to do a little bit more, to be honest. He was a weak link in my book.
I don't know if I agree with you on that, just because I'm never expecting much from Cardi to begin with. Lyrically, rapping, I think
Let me
his
just.
bar is so, I don't want to say low in an offensive way, but like, you know,
He's an advanced ad lib. I feel you. He's an ad lib that learned how to rap.
yeah,
But well, let me just say this. I think that Cardi's next appearance on this, listening session hit the spot for me. So I'll just
yeah,
simply say that. But I mean, I also like some of the added touch ups. I think that they added some background vocals. I think I might be wrong, but it definitely sounded cleaner and clearer. So
yeah,
this is just like, this is a feel good song to me. Like this is something I would play in the car with the homies if we're just turning up. If you know what I mean.
yeah. I think also organs on this, right? Like, or kind of like,
Yeah.
like
There were
piano
some
key,
organs.
yeah. But the general bounce of this track, I did like it a lot, honestly, and I think Kanye like is trying to do his best at like, like maybe registering with the younger crowd, like in trying to, and I think that's why he had Playboy on this, because I think just altogether the song, I guess it is like you could like in terms of being like pretty good mid. But I don't know. I found the track enjoyable. I didn't really find too many issues with it. I think it's just a nice feel good kind of, as you say, bump in the whip. Get ready to party and shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One thing that before we go to the next track, one line that stood out to me. I don't know if he said it towards the end, but he just said, better find God before He finds me. And I was like, ooh, okay, Kanye, like adding in that Christian, adding in that Christian, flair in there with a personal touch, which I think both you and I can say that Jesus is King lacked some of the more personal expressions or personal feelings towards God that Kanye has, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that was very I appreciated that level of personal expression, in relation towards God.
Right. Yeah. Overall, I like that track, and then we start seeing the Chicago connection here with Lil Durk and Vori on the next track, supposedly called Jonah. I don't know, what were your takeaways from that track? Because I did like Lil Durk on this.
So Lil Durk felt heartfelt. Like I truly, I felt him. I felt him. The first guy, to be honest with you, bro, low key, I felt like he was a wannabe Drake. I felt low key, I was actually like wanting Drake to be on this track because I felt like Drake would just murder that beat. But again, that's just me being a hater. I like the crunchiness. There's a crunchiness to the beat. Maybe the bit rate was a little bit messed up, but I liked it. Kanye was just doing his stuff, and I felt like, and he had this line. I think he said like, when you text me, text like make sure to make the first letter lowercase, no cap lines. And I was like, that's classic, yeah. Like the arrogance, the bravado, like that was definitely something that made me like do a quick chuckle.
Yeah.
Honestly, this was another solid pick. This is definitely another solid pick.
Yeah. Yeah, Vori is. I don't know what to really make of him on this project. He almost serves like to. I know you're not a big Drake head, but he almost serves like the same purpose of like Party Next Door always like showing up on like a Drake project and kind of just being like that male vocal to kind of have someone sing on the track. So not that I'm hating on Vori or anything, but yeah, like I kind of agree with you on like his placement on these songs or his involvement in the project. I'm not saying he doesn't have talent or the vocals, but yeah, Lil Durk, heartfelt as hell. And I think I also thoroughly enjoyed this track for the most part. And then I think this is where we start to, I think this kind of shows like, what we like about Kanye and what we don't like. And maybe our expectations are also thrown in there, but it goes to the next track, Heaven and Hell.
Opinions. Hey.
Point of references.
All right, man. Look, this track felt straight up like a demo to me. Kanye tried to trick people thinking this song is impactful because of the chorus and the children chanting, but nah, that shit's not done yet. It's not done yet. So it just felt like a demo to me. I didn't care for it, but he definitely almost tricked people to think it's a good song. I'll give him that. If you didn't pay attention, you might think it's a good song.
Nah. Call me tricked then. Call me gullible, because that song, like when it came on, and I think those I don't know what to call them, performers or the people that he had on there on stage with him. They kind of like set the tone. It was like very like a monk circle, and the tone of that song and like the chanting and his kind of flow and cadence on the track. I'm not calling this track power, like the power of this album, but that's what it kind of reminds me. That's it kind of has that same feel of like like just like the chanting and like the tone that's like and the buildup of the track. I mean, yeah, I guess I kind of agree with you, like that it's kind of demo-ish and not finished. But if this is not the finished project, or the finished take of this song, I can't wait for the finished product.
Hey man, let's go to the next track, bro.
You're still gonna be on your hate train. So this is the Off the Grid or the Drill song.
Woo-wee. Hold on, hold the phone, people. That first half, Kanye and Cardi. This is the Cardi that I wanted, by the way. Like, I don't know why I like this verse so much more, but Kanye and Cardi did their thing on that first half, man. Like, man, this feels like New Slaves on Lean to me, bro. Like, and then you start hearing the beat change. Got a little drill action going on. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, what is this? And all of a sudden, it's a full-on drill beat. I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice. Okay. Like a nice beat. Like, because the transition was amazing. The transition was immaculate. And then you get Fabio Foreign. I'm like, okay. Like he's an up-and-coming. Let me just say the word up-and-coming. But he's one of the figureheads for drill. R.I.P. to Pop Smoke. So makes sense. Kanye's giving a shine to the scene. Man is rapping. I'm like, all right, cool. Man is rapping. I'm like, all right, cool. Man is still rapping. I'm like, all right, cool. Man is gets a second verse. I'm looking at the time. Like, all right, bro, like you can wrap it up now. And then, I did not care for Fabio Foreign's second verse like that. I feel like it could have been cut down to one. The beat was dope. I think that he wrote on the beat fine, but I didn't think the verse was particularly memorable or anything special. But unless like you'd like that drill sound or you come from New York where you have like a special, emotional attachment. But that being said, though, the composition of this track,
yeah,
yes,
I think like with the Off the Grid, like that phrase kind of being like repeated throughout the track, the beat, even how the song closes out, like I think Cardi brings back his kind of like dilate energy to this track.
That's why I probably like it, to be honest.
Yeah. 5E, yeah, I at the end of the day, like I didn't mind him so much on that track, but it is a bit long. I mean, this whole thing.
Man, I got a 64.
Yeah, this whole project is long as hell. So I don't know if Kanye wants to kind of cut down on his appearance on the track, but yeah, man's just rapping and serves the New York drill beat, and sound perfectly. Yeah, Kanye hit it out of the park with this one. I think this is just a mobbing song, So then it goes into Remote, which is I mean, it's like one of those not meme songs like that Kanye does, but it's like in that same realm of like do we really need this song? Like I actually like the features more than Kanye's own performance on this track, but I didn't really like this song too much.
See, to me, I guess first I'm listening to the second take. I don't know what Kanye was saying, but damn, he got me grooving, man. Remote control. Remote control. The whistle hits. No lie, the song is, like I said, just fire mid. Like I can tell it's either not done or just a whatever song, but it got me. But I'm gonna tell you something though. Young Thug's performance on this track.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I think it goes to show that Young Thug can come up with any flow, any kind of sound, and still leaves an impact on the track. Like the man has like just a whole, just a whole closet full of flows and cadences and ways to kind of like work with his sound. Um, yeah, I think once we get the finished product of this song, I think it'll be. I'll have to give it then like a few more listens, but yeah, I don't know. It was a bit yay energy.
Mimi.
Yay energy. I'll say that.
I work, but also shout out to Cuddy. Whenever Cuddy and Ye do work together, they don't miss.
They don't.
Also, Donda.
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 Donda. Donda.
Donda. Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna keep it. I think it was like a minute or two of this interlude.
It was a minute and 32 seconds.
Yeah, respect to his mom. But do we really need this to be that long? I hope it's not. It's not gonna be this long on the album. But I guess it kind of. I don't know if it transitions well into the next song. I think it would if it was like 20 seconds, 30 seconds at the most. But then we get New Again, which is just, Kanye. And man, this song, oof. He brings back some of that, like, to me, it's like almost, I don't really like the whole new versus old Kanye. But I think he brings back this album back to life at this junction.
I gotta say, I agree. That track was solid to me. Had some, personal like notes and feels to it, which I enjoyed. And the last verse is quite powerful. The closing verse I thought was quite powerful. So, yeah, like that song. Again, I would actually I'd probably play it back if I could. That's probably a track that if I had it on my phone, I'd play it back.
Yeah, 100%.
But that next joint though with Rowdy Rich,
mm-hmm.
That's the one for me right there. That's the one for me right there.
Yeah, I like Roddy Ricch. I'm not a big Roddy Ricch fan.
He was built for that beat.
But yeah.
On the low, this is kind of what I expected Jesus King to sound like a little bit more, if you know what I mean. Because, obviously, you have the instrumentation there, like the church vibes, you feel it. The features is gliding on that beat. You got, a little bit of an 808. The 808 bass is, just hitting. This might be the one. The car, like the line that Kanye said something like, we're in the same car, yet, like, we're in the same car, but different lanes. I was like, okay, Kanye, I see you spin. Look, bro, like, and he could give $1 to every person on earth because, he's that rich.
Oh,
yeah. Hey, man, like, I mean, again, I understand why it didn't thematically fit on Jesus is King, but this is, I don't know, this to me, like, if Kanye would make music more and just, like, consistently would make an album of that type of quality, hey, man, I'll buy that every time. But yeah, that was just, that might be the one for me, honestly, just like as an enjoyable bop. Even, man, just think about the hook right now. Oh, man, it hits.
Yeah, nothing really much to add on to that track. I think if even as is, it sounds pretty good, even from the live stream event.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it nicely transitions from like the New Again sound. It's almost New Again kind of to me gives me those like with those pulsing like synths and like the overall beat like reminds me of like Graduation, and then it like transitions into like the Jesus is King kind of sound, but it's more refined here.
Yes.
And then Roddy Ricch, does his thing on this one too.
Used to be.
And then on the next track, we got the Griselda Presence confessing their sins on Keep My Spirit Alive. It was kind of surprising. Not surprising because I think these guys, they grind all year. They're dropping projects left and right. They're working with every producer under the sun. So I just want to applaud Conway and West Side Gun for being able to work with Kanye on this album, because I do think it was almost like, I'm like, is that Conway? And um, yeah, it's another track, kind of it nicely transitions too from Pure Souls to Keep My Spirit Alive. We're still kind of like going back and forth with the verses, with the feature verses. Everyone's pulling their weight on these tracks, and they're kind of like taking their own takes about this whole, concept of like religion, Christianity, relationship with God, but applying like, I guess, maybe their own perspective and life into their verses.
Hey man, look, Benny couldn't make it because Benny didn't want to take the shining spot. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'm happy to see the Griselda boys working with Ye. I heard that, like if you follow the Twitters or whatever, I heard that they were working together, but I just thought like maybe they're chilling in the studio. I never would have thought that, something would have come out of those sessions. So to hear them working, to hear the finished product, or at least semi-finished, was very dope.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be very, very honest with you. West Side's hook was garbage. Like, throw that in the trash. I don't know what that man was doing. Kanye should have like burnt that away. But
what was
honestly,
your problem with it?
No, man. Some niggas don't. Nah. Some rappers don't. Some rappers don't need to be doing hooks, bro. Like, it's not for everyone. But look, the verses were, like you said, A1. Like, as a fan of Griselda, they did their thing, and I think that they added, like you said, their own personal experiences and touches towards their relationship with God and all, how they navigate through life. Just gave the album a certain level of rawness that do it through their own experiences. So again, outside of that hook, no complaints here.
Yeah. And then it goes into the next track, which is very visceral. Never Abandon Your Family. This shit was, it was almost hard to kind of sit through this because it was, I could tell this was just coming from a place of emotion, to say the least, from Kanye's end.
Man, don't even act like you shit on that song the first time you heard it.
I mean, the vocalization on the track kinda is like, doesn't sit too well with my ears, but I have to kind of get past that because, man, Kanye is really, pouring his heart out onto the track for the whole world to listen. I don't know, like, it's a public relationship, with they're one of the biggest families, like, or most recognizable famous families in the world. But I like the whole, like, with like the every kind of like all the vocals kind of going like in and out, like with never abandoning your family, your role as a father, and then Kanye kind of like talking about having to kind of separate with Kim and leaving his family. I don't think he's leaving his family, but like the fact is that they're separated and like getting a divorce. So how that kind of like that impression and that lasting impact it will have on his kids. I think he kind of understands like how like emotionally distraught separation like this can be, not only for him, but he's a family man. So yeah, I can't really like shit on this track,
Man, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna lie with you. Like, the man singing was definitely rough, but I think that's what added to the experience. If that makes sense. I will say this: the second, again, this time around, it definitely sounded a lot better in terms of like clarity than the first time. I'll give you that. But like you said, it's raw. It's raw emotion. It's like literally expression. And then again, something that he did this time around is like, as he's singing or pouring out his heart about this current predicament with the whole divorce happening, and him also like having certain lines about like he made some lines in the from the perspective of his kids, the daughter saying like, "Daddy, why aren't you coming back?" I'm like, "Oh, that hurts." And then hearing the Donda vocal sample, adding about what a man should do. And then this time around, what Kanye did is he kept looping the part where Donna says, "A man should never leave his family, never leave his family." Like, that part kept looping and looping and looping. And honestly, man, I wanted to give that man a hug. Like, just thinking about like the fact that like his grandpa, for lack of a better term, was able to do something that his father wasn't to do, and now it seems that he'll be in a similar situation. Again, different circumstances, to be, but still.
Yeah.
No, that was an emotional experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that track is like it's so impactful, and but at the same time, it's like yeah, like you, I kind of feel bad for the man, you know, but I think if he's gonna come out with this album, I think we'll see how this all plays out for him, and hopefully,
We'll see.
yeah, hopefully he's
There's only one thing I can say. My bad for cutting you off. It's just as much as I would like him to have like a better vocalist or singer kind of performance part, I just think for the nature, due to the personal nature of this track, I think he has to be the one to do it. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there's some songs that, you know, like, you know, Ye will do like the, you know, the harmonies or whatever, but then he'll get someone else to do it. Shout out to The Weeknd. But I don't think The Weeknd can, quote unquote, make this track better, or someone else in this case.
Yeah. And then this was at the point, you know, watching the stream. Next track comes in,
Can't relate.
and I wish you could, because oof, we get the appearance from the man himself, the myth, the elusive legend, Jay Electronica on this track. And it was such a mind fuck, because like, you know, Mans has been like away, and like, you know, and just hearing his voice come on, I'm like, is that Jay Electronica? Like, did Kanye really pull out all the stops for this album? And then, you know, Jay's rapping, and you know, from his last project, you know, talking about, you know, religion on that album heavily as well. So it's like it makes sense that he would be on Donda, but like I would never think that Kanye would throw him on there. And then I think Kanye kind of capitalized on, you know, the versus battle between the Locks and the Diplomats, you know, Dipset, and got Jada on this too. And oh, Styles P does his thing. I don't know, man. This is like what I feel like So Appalled should have reached, because I not to shit on that song, but a posse cut, or they're not really a posse, you know, in terms of like being on the same label or anything, but like having this feature list and having everyone on this rap.
Look, honestly, I never thought we'd get Ye to rap like this again. Kind of like, you know, no more parties in LA.
Right.
Honestly, this, you know, I've only heard it via the live stream, but honestly, this could be like top 10 best Ye songs. I don't care. Jay like did his thing. Shout out to the Locks. Jadakiss is the most consistent rapper of all time. I honestly just want to listen to all the verses so I can get a deeper meaning. Because I definitely will say that some of the Locks bars kind of confused me, but I felt like they were just probably they probably had a more nuanced perspective. Because when I kept hearing about the gun talk, I'm like, felt kind of out of place. But then when I kind of like peeped some of the other bars, like, oh, okay, I see. I'm seeing a picture being formed. Let me analyze what's happening before I cast judgment on their verses. But yeah.
I mean, I took it as like guns and violence and growing up in these communities. You know, there's still always the presence and like the talks of like religion, God, Christianity, you know, praying to God, you know, in terms of like maybe wishing ill upon the opposition, and like God is still like present in all of this, you know. And it's kind of like mindfucky in that way, like, you know, to kind of like talk about God in the same, you know, sentences when we're talking about like violence and the use of guns and, you know, the opposition, killing them, etc., etc. But yeah, this is just hearing this is a rap track, you know, that's it, and everyone kind of shows up, and to me, this feeds my hip hop head kind of heart. And then
top 10 best Ye songs, man.
Possibly.
But guess what? God blessed him, bro, and then God, breathes on this.
and then God breathed on him. Uh, I don't really know what to make out of this. Like I recognize that it's a somewhat of a banger. Um, but yeah, this is one I'm gonna have to continue listening to. But yeah, I don't know how I really feel about this. It definitely like first time I heard it, like I'm like, okay, this is him pulling out the Yeezus card on this album. Kind of gives me a similar energy and vibe and sound to something that would be on Yeezus.
See, to me, this is just chaotic energy. Definitely music with the headphones that I'm just like gonna be headbanging to or head bopping. I like the chants with the bass lines. I found it to be really cool. Actually, like you know how the chants sounded kind of ominous. Mm-hmm. Like it. I mean, as an anime fan, it kind of reminded me of music from Full Metal Alchemist. You know, if you guys know about that show, shout out to you. If you don't, watch it. It's a great anime. But yeah, like just hearing those vocals with those bass lines, I never really thought those two sonical palettes could ever be combined. And then you have that random screech that, the however Kanye does his scream mixes in there, just added into it. Again, chaotic energy. You know, I think you'll either love it or you'll hate it. I think it's one of the Yeezus. It's definitely a Yeezus joint.
Just like Yeezus, you either love it or hate it.
Guess what? I hate it.
Okay.
Well, not this song, but Yeezus, trash.
Nah,
not
trash. Not trash.
How you about to make Dark Twisted and then make Yeezus? Come on, bro.
I mean, he had like 3 years in between those albums. Man's always pushing the narrative and the creative boundaries, and he hit it out of the park on that album. Anyway,
as creative as sweet and sour sauce, bro. Mm-hmm. Okay,
I'm in it. And then I don't know why this track is on here. I think there has to be a discussion about how much more can we milk Pop Smoke for money or plays on my album. Like this track, even though it does have like some qualities about it that are like I like the piano, but I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me that he's still having this on the album that we still need. And I guess like if you want to have Pop Smoke and want to honor him in this way, but yeah, that's all I'll really say about this track.
7 sentences. 1, the piano, while interesting and engaging at first, was just repetitive for very obvious reasons. 2, whatever EQing or sound effects they did it on Pop's voice, I wasn't really with it. 3, we already have this song. Yeah. Like we literally have this song on Pop Smoke's second posthumous tape. So is this like another, like Father Stretch My Hands Part 2? Because this is not a Chief. And I said 7 lines, but also here, this is my final take. If he literally just put the song on the posthumous tape, but finished his verse, that was him, Pop Smoke, and Pusha T. If that song was put on this album instead of whatever this artistic expression is, you would have heard no complaints from it. There's a legitimate conversation to be had about posthumous tapes and using posthumous verses, but I imagine that he cleared it with the estate. So what do I know? But this, I don't see what this added at all. This felt like a random decision. This felt like a troll. This feels like whoopity whoop, scoopy whoop.
Yeah.
Anyways, Throne 2.
The song now is kind of a little bit more enjoyable to listen at, and I think one of my main gripes about the first stream was that it ended on this song because it doesn't have that energy of a closer track to me. It was nice that obviously like Jay-Z gets you hype, right? The prospect of having another Watch the Throne album gets you hype. But I do like now that the song is kind of cleaned up a bit. The production is a little bit more present. It's not so kind of bare without I guess like the percussion or the bass of it. And yeah, I think now it kind of sits well with the album. I don't think Jay-Z's verse changed at all, right?
No.
No.
Yeah, Throne 2, it's a good song. Definitely, the mixing or the cleaning up of the track definitely aided to it. It's an anthem to me, honestly. This is something that I definitely see, as rocking in a party or in a social setting.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jay-Z's verse. Now that we are able to sort of digest the verse as is rather than sort of the shock factor. The return. I thought it was a quality J verse, like maybe quote unquote understated, but it's kind of that less is more category, if you know what I mean. I really like the percussion at the end. That was like the one complaint I had. I wanted to hear drums. And literally as I was saying, damn, I wish I added drums. I heard the percussion, so I was like, hey, shout out to you, Jesus. And shout out to you, Kanye. So
Yeah.
I like that song. But that next track though, that took me by surprise, bro.
Which one?
Well, what's it called?
Lord, I Need You?
The one where he's like, yeah, that one.
I don't really...
I didn't think that Kanye would be that introspective again. I mean, like, he was on this tape, but I was just surprised to see, like, how introspective it was. I'm assuming he's talking about Kim Kardashian on the track. I like, the church choirs. It added the vibe to it. I was impressed.
I was somewhat impressed. It's more like, I don't know. I guess I gotta listen to it a little bit more, but it doesn't really like stick with me. Like I guess the lyrics, obviously, like maybe relating it to his marriage and relationship with Kim. It's a serious topic always, but I don't know. I feel like I have to listen to this one a little bit more to really formulate an opinion on this track.
Amen. But how do you feel about, the change in 80 degrees?
Now, this is my shit now. This whole stream was like just like surprising moments. I'm like, oh my, I think we kind of knew that The Weeknd was going to be on this somewhere.
I didn't. I did not.
Oh, well, it was on the Twitterverse, like that The Weeknd was going to start working with Kanye. A lot of people were like, no, he's not. But Weeknd, Abel, heavenly vocals on a heavenly song. Lil Baby, as much as I don't care for Lil Baby, I can actually like hear what he's rapping in this song too. And just over the what has been like years, with the snippets and the leaks, I'm glad this is how it's gonna this is gonna be the close to the final finished product, because I do think it deserves a lot of recognition and all the accolades it'll get once we get the album. This is a cut of the cuts on this album.
Look, bro, we've known of this track since the Yandi days.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye even released a snippet. I think it's like a teaser for the album.
Yeah,
that we never got. And if you're part of the leak universe, you've heard like many different versions and takes of this song. Yeah. So I feel like this is like one of those songs that has its life of its own. I won't lie. The first time, when I heard it on the Donda stream, the first time around, I thought that the auto tune was a little heavy-handed. I thought like, still maybe a little too much sauce. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Lil Baby's verse. I thought, Lil Baby's verse was. I said, it was nice. I think there's even a couple of quotables. I can't quote them for you right now, but I can say that I had no complaints with his verse whatsoever. It felt like a good match. So, Abel's addition to this track, I think just level this up to like the next, to the next unit, like next level. I feel like low-key, this song alone could get a Grammy. I don't know for what, but this is on some Grammy time. This is definitely Grammy worthy. Yeah. This is dope.
Yeah.
I could play that song for 24 hours, bro. I could literally play that song for 24 hours.
True. And then we got 24 next. This was the song with the Sunday service choir, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I like the fact that he he's not really like throwing them on every track here, like, but like on a track like this where they're able to shine a little bit, it just sets the mood, I think, a lot. And I think just talking about, still we're on God, you know, and the topic of religion, Christianity, etc., etc. But just try. I think with this, it's a little bit more. He's building on more on that personal connection compared to Jesus is King on a track like this. So that's really like the key takeaways I got from this track. But at this point in the live stream in the event, I'm like, you know, like running over an hour, and it's just like, you know, it's an experience. You know, it's still yet to be seen if we get the full 24 track track list here, but.
Were you getting tired, Papa Vic?
Yeah, I was getting a little bit to that point. But no, I like this track. Even not much going on lyrically, but yeah.
No, you're right. Like, this is what you would call gospel music in my book.
Yeah.
The choir, they did their thing, you know, giving that soul. And I'm going to be honest with you, when Kanye, you know, is like singing or doing the refrain, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be okay. I was like, hey, man, like that put a smile on my face. I think this is going to be one of them joints I'll be playing, you know, in the times of need.
Mm-hmm.
It has that feel to me. It's a good song. Like, it's simple, but I think it's like, it doesn't have to, you know, every song doesn't have to be a triple entendre. It doesn't have to be, you know, amazing. Sometimes you just need the basic ingredients.
Yeah. And then this is where we get to the end of the stream, with no child left behind. This, I wish you were watching this shit, because the lights went dark, and then I'm like, okay, is it over? Like, I was like, we didn't even get Glory, we didn't get No Child Left Behind, and then you hear the organs come in. I'm like, all right, we're getting it, and then man is like hanging like from the rafters, like he's like attached, like there's a cable attached to his chest, and then he starts rising, and I just started laughing, dude. I was just like, this dude is not serious. He's like, like, I guess the overall tone of the track is very like speaks of like transcendence and like, you know, heavenly, and like it has that vibe, but you know, Kanye took it to the upteenth level and like literally like lifted himself out of the stadium. It was great. It was a great visual, you know. I can't say enough about this track. I love it. I love it. Love the vocals. He's done miracles on me. You know, that's a quotable for me personally. But yeah.
See, man, like, again, I'm fine that I'd listen to the music as is instead of the visual accompaniment, so I could just rate the bars. But I will say that I really wish I was able to experience that moment, because now, you know, just going on social media, I've seen that frame, so I'll never be able to experience it without, you know, from a fresh perspective. I will always expect it. So that is unfortunate that I'm missing out on that experience. But, you know, he's done miracles on me. This to me is like a track that could have been and should have been on Jesus is King if Jesus is King was a little bit more refined in its sound. Again, just another feel-good track, not too deep. It doesn't have to be, but it hits. And I think like they added added vocals this time around, or an added chorus. You know, he has done miracles on me.
Right.
But hey, man, like that's again another solid track. In fact, like I'll even use the word great, maybe even phenomenal. But I definitely, again, no complaints in this one. Just the mix felt good. The vibes were right. I feel, you know, it's putting me in a thankful and grateful mood. And I think that whenever music is able to uplift your, you know, spirits, that's always like a good thing in my book.
Yeah.
So,
no, to me, like the whole track was with the visuals going on. Like this is what I imagined. Like when I'm listening to this song, like how do you not feel like you're like floating up into like heaven? And the dude really replicated that in the live stream. He had like the smoke going and like these lights going up to heaven, or to the sky, I should say. But yeah, to me, this is a great track. There's not really too much going on like with the lyrics or anything. Vori, I like Vori's like he like comes in at the beginning of the track and then Kanye comes in. Um, but yeah, I don't think this isn't like a track that I expected to really like dive too deep. But just with the simple lyrics, with the overall production and the general vibe of the song, like I think it all comes together and meshes well, and
Hold up.
presents
Hold
it.
up. Are you telling me? Hold up. Are you telling me that simple lyrics and a vibe can create an enjoyable sonical experience?
I know it's a hot take, isn't it?
Bro, I don't know about all that, man. That sounds boring to me.
I don't know. Sounds like you're Captain Kirk. But yeah, at this point, with what we have in this second stream, you know, I'm excited. There's potential here to be album of the year, but I think just not even really like I'm not expecting anything from Kanye at this point. The dude really came out with 2 live stream events and still didn't drop the album. Obviously, he's still mixing and mastering and tweaking everything. Who knows if we even get the album at the end of the year? Who knows what it's going to sound like? What's going to stay on the track list? But from what I heard and saw in the live stream event, the second time sat so much better with me than the first time, which is actually very comforting because from the first stream I was kind of not upset, but like I'm like
disappointed
a little bit. So yeah.
Hey man, look, my quick takeaways are this. Like you said, take 2. No final cut yet, so we'll wait until take 5, I guess. Take 2 is what take 1 should have been. I'll be very honest with you. The first take was very shaky. Yeah. Not to say that the ideas weren't there, because they were, but the presentation was weak. My consistent complaint with Kanye in this whole endeavor has always been lack of transparency. If he wants to just release music to the people in this format, that's cool, but don't give people the imagination or the assumption that an album is dropping. When the label where Kanye's under saying, hey, album dropping at this time, that feels very legitimate. And again, there's no date that was thrown in the air. So Kanye had to sit. Once people in this camp were talking about music, Kanye could have been like, hey, like, it's not what you think, or like even a vague tweet, but no, it's being silent. So again, transparency is what I'm asking for. But looking at, again, version 2 of Donda.
Yep.
It did feel a little long. I definitely will say that some songs I think either need to be reworked or just cut off, just because it felt a little bloated to me.
Yeah, 100% bloated as fuck.
But but I think we can all agree that Kanye, in some ways, at least to me, has definitely restored the feeling to me in some songs where it's like, oh, I never thought we'd be able to get this type of yay. He's made enjoyable songs. He's made impactful songs. So like I said, the fact that I think that Jesus track with, the Locks and, J-Like is a top 10 yay track off rip. That says something, So again, right, we'll wait for the new studio whenever it happens. But assuming that the studio would be just this, but cleaned up, I would be completely fine to say that this is on the level of Pablo, if not arguably better. Yeah. Some might even put it in, like, let's say, that's me. I'll definitely say this is definitely like this is Pablo mixed with Jesus, but like better in any possible way. Arguably better than Pablo. And yeah, like you said, if Kanye now does this for a third time, I'll be excited, because I'm excited. I enjoyed what I saw this time, so I assume there will just be better things on the horizon. Yeah, either more focus or better music, or something.
To me, I 100% agree. This track list it's a bit much, but it doesn't feel bloated like a Drake album, or like the Big Day, or like Amigos album, where they're just throwing tracks to have that replay value and really cash in on that. It was a little bit drawn out, and maybe that was just from like the experience of watching it as well. But if this is what we're gonna get, I think I'm excited. And like you said, this is basically like the life of Pablo, you know, mixed with like the Jesus is King elements. And but I also really like the whole um like he's almost like grabbing parts from his past and like mixing it into the album, with like the graduation kind of sense and the Yeezus dark energy, and having like this huge feature list, and having like the young guys like Cardi and Roddy Ricch, and having like also Jay Electronica and the Locks and Jay Z on this. It's good to see him continuing to like. I wouldn't call this album really like creatively groundbreaking or anything, but he's still trying to like, still try to push himself a little bit, musically, sonically, and I think that's just like the overall like not controversy, but like the name of the game now in hip hop is like what is the sound gonna be like, once this new generation comes into like full effect and full swing, because I think a guy like Kanye will always be there, right? Because he's at the top. But then having guys like Lil Baby, Roddy Ricch, Cardi, Vori, all these up and comers, fit nicely into this album. I don't know, like I think just talking about the direction and in terms of the soundscape of hip hop as we go into this new decade, kind of like what to expect. And I know like we're talking about like the tone of the album, the vibe of the album, and maybe for the listeners, it's something that's coming up in your mind is like, but what about the lyrics? What about the production? What about the mixing and mastering? Like, shouldn't those be valued? I know there's like this whole discussion around Isaiah Rashad's newest album, in terms of you either love it or hate it because you can fuck with the vibe of that album, but if you hate it, you're probably hating it because you can't really connect to it, or you're looking for the lyrics, because the impression you got from like Sylvia Demo and Sun's Tirade kind of led you to believe that this is going to be a follow-up to those two projects. But now Isaiah's kind of like, he went in this creative direction of kind of just presenting a project that really just that he kind of signed off on and really like enjoyed making, but more so catering to like the vibe and the sound, and like listeners, like what we want to hear. It's always changing, right? So I don't know.
We have to recognize that we live in the streaming era, and because we live in the streaming era now, the way that we engage with music is a little different. Yeah, obviously LimeWire and downloading music on your MP3 was always a thing, but it was always like the alternative approach. It was never like the way to do it. Sure, financially would make sense, but it wasn't the way. So the fact that we don't have to necessarily spend money anymore on music means that we can digest a lot more music, and therefore I think that music is now sort of playing this interesting role where it's almost like acting as a backdrop of our own personal livelihoods. So while obviously we still want to listen to the storylines of artists and all that stuff, I think we've also sort of become to value music almost more of like a personal backdrop of our own personal livelihoods. Hence why the vibe, for lack of a better term, is really taking like greater precedence within our soundscape. And vibe could be aggression, could be chill, it could be anything in between, like sad boy stuff even. But it's just like really interesting to sort of see that we might not be we are no longer as invested within maybe the personal storylines of the artists themselves as much as we are trying to relate towards their experiences in whichever way it's possible. So again, even talking about Isaiah's music, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the tracks are like low-key hella short. And like again, on first listen, I was a little bit surprised, like damn Isaiah, like why aren't you adding a little more sauce to it? But then I also like recognize, like, think about it, most people can't really listen to a song past like 2-3 minutes. Remember Kids See Ghosts?
Sure.
Like 2 minutes 30 seconds, 3 minutes tops. Like it's just interesting to see how again, streaming has affected the music making game, and that will continue to happen too. And again, the de-emphasis of lyrics or lyricism is obviously doing part of hip hop, being part of the mainstream, and any musical genre that enters the mainstream is not accessible to many people, and the average person doesn't necessarily care for lyrics like that. Yeah. I can tell you that, person X, Y, and Z across the street might have different values when it comes to whatever they like. And vibe is like that one universal, creating a vibe or a tone or setting is like the one universal thing that can like draw all people together. Obviously, they have to like the same vibe, but that's like the sort of the connecting glue almost, if you think about it.
Yeah, I think, just going back to your initial point of like the streaming services playing like a huge hand in how we're like consuming, specifically hip hop, but like I think music in general, but just focusing on hip hop. In that, like, not only that people can kind of record and produce their own stuff at home and send it out into like the SoundCloud realm, put it on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, but the whole direction of like the sound of music now is not really, it has kind of de-emphasized on the lyrics a little bit, but like if you really want to look for artists who do have like particular emphasis on lyrics, I'm sure there are artists out there, but I think when we just sticking with Isaiah Rashad as the example, like when you have a man who's had like 2 quality projects like Sylvia Demo and Sons Tirade, and then he decides to kind of go off the course a little bit and kind of experiment with his sound and really just make an album where he could just kind of give it to the fans and hopefully grow his audience a little bit more. But I don't think the formula of hip hop is still the same, but I think now we're seeing the influences of like the streaming services and mainstream media, and what is presentable, what's like easily accessible, what are people getting hyped for. And it's not necessarily like anymore like the storytelling narrative like from like the 90s, early 2000s anymore. That's not really like I think it's still very valuable, to the point where we have like artists like Kendrick and guys like Kanye who, when he shows up on tracks where he can rap, they're still popular. Travis Scott, but now like I think with the streaming services, they've kind of like they've knocked down the walls of everything. Now people are being influenced not just by people of the past, but other artists coming up with them, what they've been influenced like with kind of like the new emo rap. Like obviously these artists kind of like take elements from like emo music and punk rock, and like they're kind of mixing into the new hip hop sound. So now hip hop is a little bit more melodic, from some artists like Trippie Redd, Juice WRLD, Lil Uzi. So I think just the whole streaming service has really played a major part in how sound in hip hop is going to be continuing to evolve in this way. And I don't think it's really leaving the emphasis of lyrics, in the past and like just leaving it there. I think this is just the natural evolution of this genre. I think the only issue I have with that is I think a lot, where hip hop started, from the 80s to the 90s and even into the 2000s and still today, but, largely back then, it was storytelling, and I think there's a lot of value in there. And I think maybe that's my only issue, is that I don't want that to be lost in the past,
Okay, Grandpa. Okay. Look, right? You and I both agree. This is just part of the wheel is turning. Yeah. It's taking a direction that obviously is new and uncharted. It's finding great success. Obviously, there are a lot of people now who are influencing the culture, who have their own personal ideas and perspectives on what music is, and that's fine, because that's the beautiful part of hip hop in a sense. It's the ability to blend and like infuse your own personal takes. Shout out to sample culture. In relation towards again storytelling, I'll be honest with you. That is okay. Maybe not storytelling, but pen and pad, right? You
Right.
writing down lyrics. Again, it could create a narrative or story, but you taking the time to write something impressive, something that the listener is able to take away either because it relates to them or it's because it's an amazing quotable. That is something that I'd say, for the past, honestly, SoundCloud era, pretty much like 7-8 years, I've definitely, at least again on a mainstream level, I definitely see a great decline in relation towards that, and that's something that I guess really drew me in. Like one of my first hip hop albums that I ever listened to was R.I.P. like Rebellious African People by Killer Mike, right before they did the whole Run the Jewels thing. So being able to just have music be able to tell stories and inform you about things and give you perspectives that you never thought of before is super engaging, and that's what I really enjoy out of music, or at least out of hip hop music. So seeing, again, like you said, the emphasis of that to something more laid back, vibey, that,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly could be garbage. And I say garbage not in the sense that it doesn't have value, but just in comparatively speaking, if we only use the metric scale of lyricism, like a Playboy Cardi would honestly not have existed 10 years back. A dude like that would not have been able to, thrive and survive, would he? But I guess ultimately, like I feel like the old heads, like I want my lyricism, but I also feel that some of the more vibey essence, when mixed with lyricism, can create a different sonical experience that I never thought of before. In the same way, like again, I'm personally a big proponent of the new Zay album. I definitely agree it's not as lyrically dense, but I feel that it still is able to capture the vibe nature of Zay and the rawness within his writing, and present it in a more digestible and palatable form, and that created a new listening experience. In a same way how Damn for Kendrick Lamar was like his biggest success. Like as much as like you and I will say that To Pimp a Butterfly is an amazing album, it's honestly a once in a generation album, which it is. It didn't really get received that well in the public. If you think like it did not really carry that much weight in these streets.
Yeah.
So it's just to sort of say that, look, people are like mixing and matching. People are mixing, matching, and experimenting. Hopefully people who want to put their hat in the ring are doing it for the right reasons. They want to like elevate the music into a specific direction, and they're not just catching not just riding a wave or trying to cash a check. And hopefully through them experimenting in the musical realm of hip hop, hip hop will be able to diverge into multiple beautiful branches, and hopefully produce something that I never thought would have happened 10 or 5 or 6 years ago, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and I think also like almost making me think about like Call Me If You Get Lost, which I think is like it's Tyler the Creator, right? He was a big proponent of like the tens in terms of like creating that odd future wave and really coming out and jumping into kind of like the mainstream. But with this project, he's kind of bringing back some of the elements of the 2000s with like having like DJ Drama on the album,
Yelling
and kind of and yelling and being there. But I think he's drawing back from his influences, growing up, listening to music that he liked at that time, and rapping, over quality production. And this album is able to kind of do well commercially, and people are depending on who you ask, some people consider this Tyler's best project, but definitely like in that that A/S tier project for Tyler. I think we can agree on that. So that to me is like comforting, and knowing like Tyler the Creator can do something like this, having a guy like Kendrick, having guys like Earl, but then you kind of like start seeing like the alternatives, like with like Death Grip, and like I would even consider like Lil Uzi and like Playboy Cardi, all the Lils, they're kind of like on the alternative side because it's not traditional hip hop, but now they're kind of like taking in their influences, whether it's music that they listened to when they were younger, music that they fuck with now,
or just drugs.
Regional drugs, where they come from regionally as well, has a lot to do with that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this decade will play out in terms of who will come up. You know, maybe in 5 years we'll have the next Kendrick Lamar, but it won't even be as lyrical or something. Maybe this the new savior of hip hop or whatever you want to label it as. Like, we'll have that.
Baby Keem.
Yeah. We'll be just going for straight vibes, and yeah, and as long as people are enjoying music, at the end of the day, I think this genre will never die. I just do like, as like, I guess, like, the old head is coming out. I do like the storytelling aspect. 'Cause I do think that those were some quality years, musically, not just hip hop. We had the likes of like someone like Nas, who's still coming out with music, but going back into those first two albums and kind of presenting these projects and painting you a picture that you would have probably never experienced yourself if you've never lived in New York City.
Thanks.
So, yeah.
No, you're right. See, again, right? Again, old head. Again, some of the things that I like is definitely like clever, right? Like, I like wordplay. I like double entendres.
Yeah.
I'm also like really into like flow switches. So if you're able to like say something in an interesting way, that always catches my attention. Again, the beautiful thing is there are no more gatekeepers. So, if you really want that stuff, it is out there. Like, Denzel Curry can fulfill. Like, for instance, Denzel Curry, I think, is an interesting artist, right? Like, he definitely has that hypeness factor that some people like, but he's able to blend it well with lyricism. Yeah. And that's obviously him being a product of these kind of different genres.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried, but it is interesting. However, it is kind of interesting just to like think of hip hop and seeing how it started off as like rebellious music, like the music that, teens in inner cities would make in order to express their, situations, their stories and all that stuff. And how, again, from the face that it's not kind of been turned into this commercialized, conversation about, again, money, drugs, women, and all that stuff. And again, you and I both know that hip hop is more than just that. Mm-hmm. Not to deny that there is a music that literally just falls underneath that category. But I guess the question is like, what's the next phase of hip hop going to be, and what forces dictate, again, quote unquote, the image of hip hop? Yeah. Because we know that hip hop is a lot more diverse than that image, but it is true that the current image of hip hop is not one that I can relate to personally. Yeah. And yeah, but again, I'm an old head, so.
I guess so. I agree with mostly all of that. And to kind of just also add on, like, I think the people that will stay, the artists that will stay in, just going back to kind of like, Tyler and, his most recent interview with Ebro, and, he was kind of talking about, like, people were kind of judging him back in like 2012 and like, kind of like shitting on him. Wild stuff? Yeah, kind of shitting on his style and like that, it was weird and like not like anything that anyone had heard of, and all those people kind of criticizing him, like, where are they now, and I think that's a good indicator of like, that people who survive this long and can flourish as artists will be there, in a few years. Now we're no longer kind of like in this Gucci Gang era. I think it's still it's still there, but not as big as, Lil Pump is not really a thing anymore.
Why have you left your son? That was your son.
Yeah, I had to leave my son back in college. But yeah, like, artists like that, they don't really like stick around for too long, because you have to kind of come off as like invested and serious in your sound, even if it is just kind of like mumble rap shit. I think that's what the appeal of like guys like Playboi Carti, like that's why he's still relevant. He's on a Kanye album now, is that he really crafted a sound for himself and really flourished in it. And that's something like that we can kind of recognize, and whether you like it or not, you have to kind of acknowledge that, he did do the kind of craft that sound for himself, and now he's his own kind of standalone artist. And I think that's something to kind of like be kind of proud of him for. And then you still have like the legends, sticking around today, like with that versus battle between the Lox and Dipset. Like, those guys are still going at it, more so the Lox, because they fucking bodied everybody.
Yo, man, Jadakiss is vicious, man.
Yeah. But like when you see that and you get hyped off of the back and forth and like like not necessarily like the beef, but like it kind of brings you back a little bit, and then you're like you kind of are reminded like that these guys at their peak were like they were at the top, and they still have it in some sense, especially Jada and the rest of the locks. But yeah, I don't think the genre's in any danger. I just think with change, everyone gets a little bit nervous, and they're like, they're with the gatekeeping, and like back in my day, this used to be hip hop, and like now it's all mumble shit, and like this is just the evolution.
Yeah, man. I feel you. If there's one thing that I really wish that hip hop would embrace is like the idea of subgenres. I feel like that honestly would like damn near eliminate this whole fear of like it's changing. It's just like no, there's like a new branch.
Yeah.
I don't know why we don't have that yet. Like, let's have some mumble raps. Like, I mean, obviously, we know what we can subdivide them, but like,
right.
Like how there's like hard rock and well, about the rock stuff more than me, but why as a collective don't we start like engaging in stuff like that? I wonder. But maybe that's also the beauty of hip hop. Maybe hip hop wasn't meant to divide; it's meant to accept all the misfits, and somehow we'll figure it out. That could also be,
I think it has to do like with like that hip hop is more than a genre; it's culture, right? And when you start changing the culture, you're afraid that you'll lose some of it in the process of evolution and change. Like genres like jazz or rock, like they kind of stay, or no one really like gets really too up in arms when they start kind of drifting away, because there's like post punk and post rock and like all these revivals, and the genre like peaks and dips at different eras throughout the years. But with hip hop, when that happens, I think we get a little bit nervous because it's more than just a genre; it's culture. I think that's I guess my like initial theory, because I do agree like there needs to be more of an acceptance of the subgenre, within hip hop, because once people start talking about like the alternatives of hip hop, like Death Grips or Tyler, people are like, not like, nah, that's weird. Like that's not hip hop. That's not rap. But it is rap. It's just deviated from the mainstream or the traditional formula that we kind of understand that hip hop is. You got the beat, the pen and pad, the delivery, and then you get the product.
I mean, shit, bro. If you really want to go back to it, like this conversation has been going on even before the internet days. True. Remember when like regional sounds was like actually like a thing? Mm-hmm. Like people down south definitely did not rap the same way as the people in the East Coast.
Yeah.
Depending on what like you like out of hip hop, you might say that the Southern style is a bastardization of it. Again, that's not what I would say, but yeah. I could definitely see someone saying, "Oh man, like I don't need that hyphy music, bro. Right. Give me them boards. Give me that Tim music, bro."
Exactly. Yeah. It's evolving, and with that comes with change. We get nervous about change, but I think the saving grace is that the people who make it through and who continue to push themselves creatively will stay around and will still come out with quality music. And if there will always be quality music in hip hop, I'm not too worried.
Undeniable. That's right. We'll always have music worth talking about in any, whichever metric system you want to use. If you want to do the lyrics, go to X. If you want to go, if you want the vibes, go to Y. Yeah. If you want the beats, go to Z. And everything else in between. The question, like again, it's just which hip hop is being again. Which hip hop is the face of it all,
right?
And that's, I guess, that's really the main concern. Yeah. But again, since we live in the internet days, we ain't even tripping about that, dog.
Yeah.
So we're in good hands, man. But see, this definitely leads into a discussion that we should have at some point about just the relationship about like criticizing music or reviewing music and like the relationship between artists and critics, because. I feel like this is kind of like a tug of war as old as time. Like artists are sensitive about their works, and critics are literally there to give a critical analysis on the music. and also kind of inform, because back in the day, critics, like Remember the Source and all these other magazines, like they used to be like legitimately reputable places that people would tap into to know whether or not they should engage with so and so's album.
Right.
It's just it's something. It's interesting to think about how people are worried about like, hip hop is changing. It also makes me wonder if like maybe artists or people in the industry maybe like be worried or scared about like the opinions of reviewers and such, and how that may affect the people's response to the music. But whether or not that's valid or not, that's worth a discussion at some point.
Right. What makes you bring that up? Is it a certain feud that occurred in the past 24 hours?
Oh no, I got you, bro. So I mean, shout out to Isaiah Rashad. He dropped a tape that both you and I can enjoy. Some of our friends not so much, and we fundamentally understand again what the album gives and why it resonates or doesn't.
Yeah. You
even said it yourself. Like it's very straightforward. Melon, shout out to Melon. He's been an OG in the game. He reviews that tape. Him and Isaiah Rashad have never really clicked, so he ended up giving the album like a mid, at the 5, just mid. He didn't hate it. He didn't love it. He just, thought it was mid. Looking at the review personally, I thought it was a little bit half-assed. Like, but again, like half-assed in the sense that he didn't hate on it, so he didn't just like bash it for like however many minutes, and he didn't love it, so he didn't just like praise it for so many minutes. He just kind of like, what is this? Like, why am I even here? So but again, that's his take on the album. He articulated his points very well. Isaiah Rashad didn't take too kindly about those words. He sent shots over his way. Then decided to delete the shots, but then Punch or Top, one of the label guys, entered the conversation, and now it looks like Anthony's trending, and he may or may not be receiving a lot of hate on the internet now.
Yeah, I think like if anybody is in the right here, I think it's Rashad, because he is entitled to kind of like say like, and he didn't really necessarily say this, but like, like, fuck you, Anthony, like, this is an album that I made, like, I was happy with this product, if you don't like it, then, screw you. But then we kind of get in this discussion of like, who's right, who's wrong. Like, at the end of the day, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but then I think it gets into controversy when you have a guy like Punch kind of speaking for Melon in terms of like, like, you didn't like it because you don't get the black experience, right? Kind of coming at him like that out of left field, and kind of like putting him on blast in that way. It's a bit, I think he's reaching with that statement. You can call me out on that if you want as well. But I didn't think.
Yo, comment, guys, please call Sir Vic a racist. Do it. I do it.
Do it.
I'll give you $1 like Kanye.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like when you have a guy like Anthony who kind of critiques an album in the ways that he does, especially with this review, because I do agree with you. It was very like curt and very like not really thorough, but maybe that's just because, like you said, he didn't love or hate the album, so how much does he really have to say about this latest project from Rashad? But then you have like a guy like Punch coming at him for kind of saying, what he, or for his review and what he said in it, and kind of like coming up with this narrative that he didn't like it because, he doesn't get it. Like, no, I don't think that's true at all. I don't want to disregard, Punch or Top's opinion about Anthony's opinion, but that's kind of like the conundrum about this controversy is like we're arguing about opinions here. Like it's like everyone has their own like reference point. Everyone has their own way of like critiquing or liking an album. Not even critiquing, just liking an album. If someone doesn't like it, then whatever. You've got thousands of other people listening to this album and enjoying it, like the both of us. Then you have like your Captain Kirks, who don't really enjoy this album for whatever reason, and that's fine.
But they're still willing to support, and that's all that matters. By buying concert tickets.
Exactly.
Zay stay winning.
Exactly. But yeah, it was a bit strange to see that whole feud going on yesterday. And
honestly, sorry, before you add your 2 cents, look. So like you said, right? Look, reviewer gives out his review opinion. And again, ultimately, it's just Anthony's opinion. It's just that he's really articulate when it comes to all of that. Like, that's, I think, one of the reasons he has been able to stick around in the review space so long is because he breaks down why he thinks the way he thinks. I think that's quite admirable, honestly. Even if we might, again, absorb or consume music in a different fashion. Zay felt the type of way, and that's completely fine. And, him deciding to, like, shoot out a tweet, it's one approach. I personally would have wanted this to... Because again, Anthony has never really rocked with Zay's music like that, from Sylvia to Sons. I would have liked it. Maybe this could have created some form of dialogue or conversation about maybe like how Anthony reviews his music, or like maybe like it's not like I'm not gonna shoot. I'm like, look, I'm not gonna fight Zay on what he said. It felt again a little bit defensive, but like I don't really see anything particular. Like he didn't say he didn't just outright say "F you, Anthony" or all the reviewers. He just kind of made a statement of how he felt, and it might be a little bit ignorant, but that's from a standpoint. But using Twitter as the means to have this discussion, it's like why? It's not like I just feel like you just stoked flame on the fire, and you said it earlier, bro. Look. You and I both rock with this album, but like, let's not act like this is like To Pimp a Butterfly or anything. Like, this isn't like the goated album or like it's a nice chill hip hop album for the summer that is very accessible. It's very accessible and has some introspection in it. Like, if this album was a Grammy, I'll be surprised, but. I don't know why this out of all the albums, I guess, caused so much uproar. But I would have just preferred that both Anthony and Zay either had a private conversation or even had a public discussion about again, maybe the music making process or the reviewing process, that people could have a better understanding of the nuances of the claims. Because like you said, talking about the Black experience, there's a legitimate case within that statement.
Right.
However, when you just shoot out that tweet, now I'm interpreting it again. I don't know what you mean, so I'm just going to interpret it how I feel. Maybe as a fellow Black person, you could say, "Oh yeah, I completely get it," and maybe as a non-Black person, you might think it's a reach or just outright racist and whatever. But now we're losing the nuance of the conversation, and it goes back to confusion, misinformation, and more opinions on opinions on opinions on opinions. And that's why, and look at us now talking about this, giving our own
opinions about this.
My goodness.
Yeah. No, you bring up a good point, and this could have been a great discussion, if they were able to hold that kind of forum on on a live stream or something, or even in private. If they really wanted to just keep it to themselves, that would have been cool too. But. The whole issue I have with Punch is are you trying to say that this album is a 10 out of 10, or are you just outright calling Melon as him as a reviewer, and also kind of subliminally saying you're just a white dude, you wouldn't get it, because I don't think either of those are true. So I'm what was the point of just having this whole feud? And I think it just goes back, people are just arguing about opinions, and opinions are subjective, and we're arguing about art, music, which is subjective. So everyone here is just engaging in this circle jerk. And it doesn't go anywhere because no one wants to have a dialogue. They're just shots being thrown out. Twitter fingers are in action, and no one's really willing to have this discussion that I think is worth kind of talking about. Maybe I don't want to invalidate what Punch was kind of saying, because maybe he truly does feel that maybe what Anthony was coming across in that review was kind of disregarding the body of work that Isaiah came out with, but at the same time, I think Fantano could have provided a great space for that discussion to happen. And I'm pretty sure they could have came to some sort of resolution, or at least had a great dialogue.
At least a great understanding, Phil.
Yeah.
Here's the look, bro. Anthony's gonna keep Melanin will continue to review stuff, and he should. He's not literally. He's just giving out his opinion. And to be very frank with you, he doesn't insult the artist of his musical takes. He keeps it very much in the actual body of work itself. Mm-hmm. like 98% of the time. He
Unless
does
you
not
get like
like Nav.
a not good, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. But again, like he's a very, also, you know, he conducts himself in a very professional manner, unlike us. But like, okay, so Zay shoots his tweet. You know, I'm like, all right, come on, Zay, you don't have to do that. And here's the thing, here's the issue, right? Like, if it was just, let's say, me, you, your uncle, whoever, nobody shooting a tweet in the ether, giving your hate towards someone, whatever, like it might be seen by like 10, 20 people and then it just dies down. But both these individuals have a fan base, and unfortunately, these fan bases will sort of interact and, you know, will add fuel to the fire, unfortunately. Right. So, for instance, like I don't know if Zay watched the video on his own accord, or maybe like people just kept spamming him about, hey, you check out the review, or hey, Mel gave you this, and that might have gotten on his nerves. So that's why he shot the tweet. And then because Zay shot that tweet, which honestly he could have just been venting, and that's all. Obviously, Zay fans now going to be like, you know, shooting shots at Melon, and then Melon has to respond, and then Melon fans will come to defend and maybe shoot shots back at Zay and the TDE heads, and then you just, like I said, just more chaos, more confusion, more division instead of, you know, a dialogue or conversation. And I guess the one thing I'll say is, like, I'm looking at Melon a little bit side-eye in this one, only because like he kept, I don't know if you noticed, but he kept shooting, like he kept tweeting about this type of stuff, and it's like, you're not new in this space, like you've been doing this for 10 plus years, like I don't know why, like, unless he's using this for promo, which again, that's smart, you know, like Melon, just take a chill pill, lay with you, feel me? Like, because it's not like, because they only left one tweet and left it at that. It's like I keep seeing Melon like keep stoking the flame by people. And again, I get it that he's being, I get that he's obviously being harassed, because at one point he was trending on Twitter, so clearly something must have been happening. But
yeah,
I don't know why he's quote unquote feeding the flame into the public spectacle, instead of sort of, I don't know, like either leaving it be or maybe trying to, like you said, create a dialogue. Because I would like to see it. I'm sure that nobody's opinion will be changed, but I think that great, nuance will be given in that type of dialogue. And now there's no nuance, and we probably won't get one anyways.
Yeah.
And about Top entering the building, look, I see it as a money play. He probably views Anthony's negative review as a means of hurting Zay's pockets, because Anthony has impulse. Like, if you don't have a connection to Zay's music and you use Anthony as a vibe check to see whether or not you should check out an album or not, you probably won't check out the album based off of the mass review, to be honest with you. And, if I'm eating off of that, obviously I'll feel the type of way. Do I agree with his takes? Again, they feel heavy-handed, but again, if he this could have been a discussion where we would have been broken down why we think so, and then I could have had a better understanding. So look, this is moist beef, man. I don't know why this blew up. This is moist. This is, I don't know.
Drama's temporary, music is forever. That's all I gotta say. People will like and hate music for the rest of existence, as long as someone's on creating something on Ableton and someone has headphones. People are gonna like and hate whatever kind of music that they choose to kind of listen to, and at the end of the day, like I just view this whole kind of controversy as it's kind of weak, because there's nothing that really came out of it. Nothing was really said. And it's just everyone arguing about subjective opinions. So I don't even necessarily want to even say anyone was right or wrong. It's just this whole mess.
Bro, it's weak. That's all. All of this shit was weak, man. But I'll end this opinion discussion on this part. I do genuinely think there's a way to be subjective about music. Like, I think, in my book, I separate music in favorite and best, right? I can enjoy music and know that it's trash, and I can also not enjoy music but understand its quality. Yeah. I think where things get a little iffy is how do we categorize or standardize, the values for quality of good music? Because that's where that personal bias sometimes comes in. Because what I look for in hip hop might be different from you. Like you just said, right? You like storytelling. Maybe your son might really enjoy a vibe or energy and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, me, I'm not a Yeezus head, but you enjoy Yeezus because it obviously gave you chaotic energy. And for me, I'm like, that's cool, but I really want either a connection with the lyricism, or at least, bars written in a clever, interesting manner, which both you and I will agree, it's not Kanye's best result. Yeah. So, but that just to say, and I think that's an interesting debate. But
Yeah,
again,
and it's within the scope of Kanye. When we're like, you could have some other artists who had like a chaotic album versus a lyrical album, and it's a whole different discussion. But because it's Kanye, like there's some things about Kanye that we value, and our own personal like tastes like go into it as well.
I agree. So, look, man, like I don't know why Anthony per se reviewed the album. I'm sure that he did it because people requested him to. I'm not surprised by the score. Maybe Anthony's not really into vibe music like that, and it's unfortunate. But he gave his piece. I hope that Zay is able to win. I hope he enjoys his first week's numbers. Please drop music again in like 2 or 3 years. Like, don't disappear on us. But first and foremost, take care of your kids. Make sure that everything's make sure everything's solid at home, and TDE, look, y'all 1 for 3 right now. Like, I'm happy with y'all.
Keep
right
it
now,
going.
But,
keep it going.
Keep it running.
Yeah.
Melon, keep it pushing. I think that you make great takes. Mm-hmm. Here also like a random FYI, just to let y'all know. I don't know if people know, but Mans is like married to like a black woman, and I only bring that up because like obviously that doesn't make him black or that doesn't mean that he's like part of a black experience, but obviously his exposure towards it. He's obviously a lot more keen towards the experience due to the exposure. Yeah. And I only bring that up because, again, like, you might think he's just like this random nerdy white kid on the internet giving takes. And not to say that nerdy white kid can't take takes, but that's not who Anthony is, just based off of, his situation.
Yeah, he's very educated and well-versed in music in general. But to kind of label him as, like, whatever you want to say, that kind of shows me that you're really not like, you don't really know him in terms. I mean, we don't really know him at all. But like on his videos,
we should run up on him, bro.
We should run up on him. We've ran into, or at least I've ran into him a few times here in Connecticut at shows, and he's shown us love at the beginning of all of this with liking our or featuring us on his hot take episode where we talked about TDE. But yeah. I don't know. Just, mellow beef. That's all I got to say.
Mellow beef.
Yeah.
That's a good name for a single.
Vibey beef.
Nah, this wasn't a vibe at all. This killed my vibe.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about it for us today. We're still on the lookout for Donda. Don't think we'll get it anytime soon. Donda. Maybe in the meantime we'll just continue bumping the new Isaiah as we are, and looking forward to next week, and seeing who drops, and we're excited to continue this podcast going. We'll stay connected with everyone out there on the socials, and we appreciate the listens, and just make sure to follow us, let your homies know or your buddies about us, and appreciate all the love so far. We're a young podcast. We're doing this remotely, but we're trying to make this all work for our listeners.
Also, people, we will improve our production quality. Don't you worry. You will see our faces at some point, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, I know there was a comment on one of our videos about that, but we're in different states right now, so. Once Queso returns back home, it's a wrap. Hey, man, you know what it is. But, shout out to the peoples. Again, we got timestamps for y'all, so y'all can click to the specific topics. I know you're going to watch it all anyways, but, we want to make sure that you first get a little sample taste, feel me, before you get hooked. Exactly. Shout out to Melon. Again, I'll keep watching. I'll keep watching reviews when I'm interested. Mm-hmm. Please pin our comments on your comment section so we get more views. Yes, I'm trying to eat off your fans. Actually... yeah, don't do that because I'm trying to eat off your fans. TDE, hey man, look, y'all 1 for 3 right now. I heard that Reason might be leaving the label. That's wild. Hey man. Also, shout out to Zachary. That song was a bop. Rainy Day. With Isaiah and Buddy. Yeah, yes. Right. Yeah. That was a bop. That was a good choice. Yeah. But all right, that's steady rotation. We out, and check us. We love y'all. Check us out. Peace.
You.